I'd like to talk to you a little bit about activity and power. Some people say activity versus power, but no, actually, they're both really two sides of the same coin. So let's have a look at this position here. I've moved these pawns and two squires, very typical game plan structure. And now I'm moving my knights because they're slower than, say, archers. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing the New York hot dog, or a variation of it. Okay. The king is castled, the bishops and archers are the sausage, you got the bun, you got like some nice activity, you can easily expand your pieces and pawns and build up your queen side and so on. So maybe attack down the open d file there, lift that, and so on. Okay, so we have here a situation where the bishops and archers are in the very close to the center, and they don't actually have much activity. They have potential activity, so they have power. They have numbers in the center quadrant or zone. They have numbers, or in other words, they have power. All right. Now, so because they've got power, and particularly because they've got central power, they can then, once these blitz forward, they can then open up, and their activity can just magnify. All right. So their activity can literally explode onto the board. Now, activity is numbers of squares. Power is numbers of pieces in a given area. And so if you're playing very aggressively with your pieces and you're putting it into their, right up into their face, and you're actually being very aggressive and active with it, that activity is also can then be converted into numbers and getting more powerful matchups, 2 versus 1, and so on. It's not if you have more squares than your opponent, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are winning. All right, you can be sucking on a lot of vacuum of space there and not actually convert that into tactics. So you need some numbers, some power in that situation. You need some material. So really they go hand in hand. So which should you strive for at the beginning of the game? Which should you strive for at the end of the game? And your main goal every move is to do the most forcing move, and that means the most active move. All right, so forcing moves are threats, checks, and captures. Check if you can do any checks, check if you can do any captures, check if you can do any threats, because that gains you tempo or time. So, and that time converts into space or activity. So activity you're able to convert that to superior matchups and tactics, and activity you're able to convert that ultimately into checkmate. So you have to ask yourself, which is more important, controlling the squares, activity, or checkmate? Well, ultimately, some people fall on the camp of checkmate, whereas I tend to fall on the position of maximum activity, because at the end of the day, you cannot predict all the variations or the tactics that will emerge out of the complexity, but you can predict that you have the highest probability of success if you have the more active pieces, and that means at the opening you don't want to waste your time. You want to develop with a clear game plan or opening. So there you go. You want to develop, and that's it. All right. So that's my discussion on activity and power, and I tend to fall on the side of activity above checkmate. All right. Take care. All right. Strike a match and ignite a blazing star. See you guys.